Hey, fifth grade. I hope you guys are having a great week. I wanted to check in this week and just kind of go back over some of the things that we have been learning to make sure you kind of understand how they all relate together. So, we started back at the beginning with talking about how to perform a good Google search or a search in another search engine by finding really good keywords. We followed that up by talking about different research topics and how to choose a topic that we're interested in. And then we moved into the finding information that supports that topic. And last week we started talking about how when we are researching, we have to sift and look through a lot of different information. And there's going to be some great information probably that we find, but it's going to be mixed in with some information that maybe isn't so great. And so we learned an acronym, TRAP. TRAAP, that kind of helped us sift through different information. So we're going to keep talking about that this week, but we're going to talk about it specifically as it relates to different news articles. So a lot of our research topics, we may need to look at different news articles as we are researching, and we want to know exactly how to look at those to determine if they're accurate and giving us good information. So just to review, remember the T in TRAP stands for timeliness. So that's is the date kind of recent? Is it a topic where it really needs a recent date? A lot of times with news articles, that's pretty important. The R stands for relevant. So is it staying on track with our topic that we have chosen? The A stands for accuracy, which is there's no spelling errors, there's no grammar mistakes. We can tell that this was maybe written by an expert on the topic. A is author. So again, we kind of want to know, how is this person related to the topic? How did they get this information? Are they an expert? And then the P is purpose. So why are they sharing this information? Is it to teach us? Or is it to kind of mix their opinion in? We have to be careful about that in news articles. Okay, so keep those in mind as we go through. So, our essential question is, what are the important parts of an online news article, and how are we going to identify those and kind of test them against that TRAAP model that we've learned? So, we're going to look at the different parts of an article. We're going to identify the structure of an online article, and then we're going to learn some things to watch out for as we look at articles online. So when we talk about news articles, we're talking usually about a recent event. So right now, you're probably hearing a lot about the presidential election. Recently, there have been a lot of fires, especially like out west in California. So those are some events that you're probably hearing about a lot on the news. We've been hearing a lot of news about COVID. And again, not all articles are going to give the same level of information. So we want to be able to look at them and figure out which ones are really giving us that really good, unbiased, true information. So here is an article that we're going to kind of be looking at and breaking apart. And you can look at that. And it is about a storm that happened. Okay. And I know the print might be kind of small, but we're going to focus on a lot of the other parts of the page. You don't have to necessarily read it for information. Okay. So here's a little video I'm going to share with you. All right. So that is a little video put out by commonsense.org. That's one of my favorite websites for teaching students about how to read news articles and be good digital citizens. So that's a great website that I just wanted to include. And so in the article or in the little video, it talked about the different parts of the article. So as you are looking at an article and deciding if you want to use it as part of your research, you're going to want to pay attention to the headline. The headline is the title of what it is about. It's usually in big letters at the top of the page. It's kind of what grabs our attention usually right away. And it kind of gives us a little bit of an idea about what we're going to be reading about. Okay, so you're going to want to pay attention to the headline. Next, it talked about the byline. And the byline is that little tiny line. Sometimes it's right under the headline. Sometimes it might be found like under the picture. And it will tell who is the author and what is the date that this was written on. So, again, that really ties back to the T in our TRAP acronym that talks about timeliness. If we're studying the presidential election and we look at an article that was written 8 years ago, then it's not even going to have the two candidates that we're trying to learn about right now. It's not going to meet our needs. So we want to pay attention again to that date and then also the author. If there is no author listed, then usually that's kind of questionable. Usually an author who's kind of an expert or even just a reporter on the topic will list their name because they want to get credit for the work that they did. Okay. Next up is the URL, and that is at the very top in the web browser, and it's that one-of-a-kind web address that takes us directly to that article. It helps us know what we're looking at, and it makes us able to share it with someone else if we want to. And remember, we want to make sure that we are paying attention to that, and that the first part of it is on a trusted news site. Okay, so you can see the first part of this URL up here is that Common Sense Media website that I told you is very trustworthy and that I use for a lot of teaching purposes. Okay, so we want to pay attention to that. Next is the section title. So not all news articles have this, but if you're looking at like an online newspaper, sometimes you can click through it this way. So notice that this particular article comes out of their weather section. Okay, remember in the video it showed that there was an opinion section, which is where people can write in with their thoughts on a topic, and we definitely want to avoid that when we're doing research because we're looking for something that's fact-based and not full of opinions. Next is the image. So we want to make sure that they are giving us an image that actually matches what we're learning about and looks realistic. They showed that that picture in the video where the man looked like he was blowing sideways in the wind. Our brain will usually look at something and go, that doesn't look quite right. And if you get that feeling, then it's probably not a website that you're going to want to use in research. Okay. If they've, messed with the picture or used Photoshop in some way, that is a big red flag that it's not a good news site for research. Okay. And let's see, the date again, we talked about in the byline, making sure that it is current depending on our topic. We did talk about last week how there are some topics that the date isn't as important as others. So you kind of have to think about how that relates to your topic each time you're doing research. Related articles are more articles usually that come from the same website that show up along the side. We have to be careful because sometimes these can lead us into lead us off topic. Sometimes they're not super closely related to the main article. And they can also lead us to things that maybe are more opinion based or even just sometimes untrue. So those can be a little bit tricky. We want to watch those carefully. And then advertisements. So lots and lots and lots of sites today are ad-based, meaning that they make their money by selling advertisements. And a lot of newspapers, online newspapers, are ad-based. And so we want to make sure that we're not getting distracted by the ads, that we're not looking at them as part of the main article or as fact. Again, someone is paying the newspaper because they want us to click on those rain boots and to buy them. Okay, so we're going to be aware that that is their purpose. They want us to click and buy. They're not teaching us anything with that. So that is just something to be aware of. Okay. And again, that is how a lot of online newspapers do make money. Okay. Is by selling those ads. Then the sponsored content are those links to other websites. A lot of times these are not news. And again, they are things that lead us into either pages where there are things to click on to buy. It can be sometimes disguised to look like news. And a lot of times they call this clickbait, where they put out some kind of outrageous headline that catches our attention. And we're like, wait, what is this? Is this even true? And then we click on it and we've kind of fallen into their trap. So we want to make sure that we're kind of just avoiding those. It's usually not a good way to research or to find something, is to click on those. The comment section is another area that we want to be aware of. Sometimes it's nice to kind of read the comments on an article and see how other people are feeling about it. But it's really not a place where we want to take information for research or, really get too involved in what others think. It's better for us to just read, form our own opinions, maybe look at some other websites, look up some other facts or details that we might need to form our own opinion. So the comment section can be interesting and can be nice to see how other people are feeling about an issue or a topic, but it's not the most useful place for research. All right, so that is the end of our lesson today. Remember, this is just helping us learn specifically how to evaluate a news article when we are thinking about using it maybe as part of our research or a research project, or even just to answer a question that we have. So hopefully this was helpful, and I appreciate you listening.